The vastness of space was silent, cold, and endless. For centuries, humans had looked up at the stars, wondering if they were alone in the universe. They weren't. Far away, beyond the reach of any human satellite, something was coming. It wasn't friendly. The aliens, known as the Vrokar, were a race that valued power and domination above all else. They had crushed many planets, enslaved entire species, and now their eyes were set on Earth. They had heard about humans, weak, emotional creatures who fought amongst themselves and had no chance of standing up to a force like theirs. The Vrokar Supreme Commander, Raxor, stood tall on the bridge of his flagship, gazing out at the sight before him. Thousands of warships, all ready for battle, were spread out across the stars, dark and menacing. Each ship was armed with the latest alien technology, capable of destroying entire cities with a single blast. They had never lost a battle, and Raxor was confident that this would be no different. "Prepare the fleet," Raxor commanded in his cold, harsh voice. "We will arrive at Earth in a few hours. Begin the countdown." His second-in-command, an alien with gray skin and sharp, glowing eyes, nodded. "Yes, Commander. Earth's defense systems are weak. They have no idea we're coming." Raxor smirked. "Good. Let's show these humans what true power looks like." On Earth, the news of the alien invasion had not yet reached the public. Life continued as usual. People were busy with their everyday tasks, unaware of the threat coming their way. But the human military knew. High above the Earth, in a top-secret space station, a group of elite military officers and scientists were monitoring strange signals coming from deep space. General Harris, a seasoned officer with a strong jawline and graying hair, stared at the screen in front of him. The readings were clear. Something massive was heading towards Earth. He had hoped that the strange signals they had been tracking for weeks were just another space anomaly. But now it was clear this was an invasion. "We don't have much time," Harris said, his voice tense. "The alien fleet will be here in less than 5 hours. They outnumber us, and their technology is far more advanced than anything we've seen before." Beside him, Dr. Elena Sanchez, a brilliant scientist, adjusted her glasses as she studied the data. "Their ships are huge, General. If they attack, our defenses won't hold for long. But we do have one advantage." Harris turned to her, raising an eyebrow. "You mean the warship?" Dr. Sanchez nodded. "Yes, the Last Hope. It's our most advanced ship, equipped with technology the world hasn't even seen yet. It's cloaked so the aliens don't know it exists. But if it comes to a fight, it's our best shot." General Harris crossed his arms. The Last Hope had been a top-secret project, built in secret by Earth's greatest minds. It was the most powerful ship humanity had ever created, designed specifically for situations like this. But one ship against thousands, the odds weren't good. Still, Harris knew they didn't have a choice. "Activate the crew! Get them ready," he ordered. "We need that ship in the air before the aliens reach Earth." Miles away, in a hidden military base deep in the mountains, the crew of the Last Hope received the call. Captain Sarah Mitchell, a skilled pilot and leader, was sitting in the mess hall with her team when the emergency alarm blared through the speakers. "We've got a situation," said Sergeant Blake, rushing into the room with a look of urgency on his face. "Alien ships are coming. They're huge, and they'll be here in a few hours. The Last Hope is being activated." Captain Mitchell stood up immediately, her face serious. "Let's move, team. We've trained for this. It's time to put everything we've learned into action." The team rushed to the hangar where the Last Hope was stored. The ship was a sight to behold, sleek and powerful, its dark metal exterior shining under the lights. It was equipped with the latest weapons, energy shields that could withstand any blast, and stealth technology that made it invisible to enemy radars. As Captain Mitchell boarded the ship, she couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. This was humanity's greatest creation, and it was up to them to protect Earth. Her crew, made up of the best pilots, engineers, and strategists, quickly took their positions. "Ready for takeoff, Captain," said Lieutenant Daniels from the control panel. Mitchell nodded. "Let's go. We don't have much time." The engines roared to life, and the Last Hope lifted off the ground, flying out of the secret base and into space, hidden from view by its advanced cloaking device. They were heading towards the alien fleet, ready to face an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. Meanwhile, back on the alien flagship, Commander Raxor was becoming impatient. "How much longer until we reach Earth?" he demanded. 3 hours, Commander, his second-in-command replied. "Our ships are ready to attack as soon as we arrive." Raxor grinned. "Good. These humans won't know what hit them. They're weak, and they don't stand a chance against our superior forces." But what Raxor didn't know was that humanity had a plan. As the alien fleet continued its approach, the Last Hope silently moved into position, hidden among the stars, its crew preparing for the battle that would decide the fate of Earth. As the countdown to the alien invasion continued, the tension on Earth grew. General Harris and Dr. Sanchez watched the screens, tracking the movements of the alien fleet. "They're getting closer," Dr. Sanchez said, her voice filled with worry. "If the Last Hope doesn't stop them, I don't know what will." Harris clenched his fists. "It's up to them now. 1 ship against 1,000. Let's hope it's enough." Far above Earth, in the cold emptiness of space, the alien fleet finally came into view. Thousands of warships, all armed and ready for destruction, filled the dark sky. And in the midst of them, cloaked and hidden, was the Last Hope, humanity's single greatest defense. Captain Mitchell took a deep breath as she stared at the enemy ships on her radar. "This is it," she said quietly. "We're outnumbered, but we're not outmatched. Let's show them what humanity is made of." The crew nodded, their faces determined. They knew the odds were against them, but they also knew they had something the aliens didn't: courage, determination, and a will to survive. "Engage the enemy," Mitchell ordered. And with that, the battle for Earth began. As the Last Hope silently hovered among the stars, cloaked from view, its crew prepared for the battle ahead. Captain Sarah Mitchell sat in her command seat, eyes fixed on the screens in front of her. Thousands of alien warships filled the radar, a terrifying sight, but she remained calm. "Lieutenant Daniels, what's our status?" she asked, her voice steady. Daniels, the ship's top navigator, quickly checked the controls. "All systems are green, Captain. Cloaking is holding. They don't know we're here." Mitchell nodded. That was the one advantage they had. The Last Hope was invisible to the alien fleet, for now at least. But once they made their move, the cloak would be dropped, and they'd be in the thick of it. 1 ship against an entire alien armada. She knew the odds were slim, but there was no turning back now. "Bring us closer to the lead ship," she commanded. "We need to get in position before they reach Earth." The engines hummed quietly as the ship glided through space, moving closer to the alien fleet. Every second felt like an eternity. The crew was silent, focused on their tasks. They knew the risks, but they trusted their captain and their ship. Back on the alien flagship, Commander Raxor stood on the bridge, his glowing eyes scanning the screens in front of him. Earth was getting closer, and soon they would unleash their attack. He had no doubt that the planet would fall easily. "Commander," his second-in-command said, "we're detecting something strange. There's a faint energy signature nearby. It's faint, but unusual." Raxor frowned. "Could it be a human ship? I'm not sure. Our sensors are having trouble locking onto it. It's almost as if it's not really there." Raxor's eyes narrowed. He didn't like surprises. "Increase our scans. I want to know what that is before we make our move." "Yes, Commander." On the Last Hope, Captain Mitchell watched as they moved closer to the alien fleet's command ship. It was massive, dwarfing even the largest of Earth's space stations. The alien design was sleek, black, and ominous, with strange energy pulses rippling across its surface. "We're in position, Captain," Lieutenant Daniels reported. Mitchell leaned forward. "Good. Now let's make this count. Engage the targeting system, prepare the energy cannons, and get ready to fire." The ship's weapon systems whirred to life, glowing faintly as they locked onto the alien flagship. It was a gamble, but if they could take out the command ship, they might have a chance to scatter the rest of the fleet. "Captain," said Sergeant Blake from the weapons console, "once we fire, we'll be exposed. The cloak won't hold under that kind of energy surge." Mitchell knew that. She had already accepted the risk. "I know, Sergeant. But we can't stay hidden forever. We'll only get one shot at this. Blake nodded. Weapons locked and ready. On the alien flagship, the sensors began to pick up the last hope. The faint energy signature was growing stronger, and alarms started to blare. "Commander!" the second-in-command shouted. "There's a ship! It's close, and it's powering up its weapons!" Raxor turned sharply. "What? How did they—" "Where is it?" "Directly in front of us. They must have been cloaked." Raxor's face twisted with rage. "Prepare to fire all weapons! Destroy that ship!" But before the aliens could react, the last hope unleashed its attack. A bright beam of energy shot from the human warship, tearing through the blackness of space and slamming into the alien flagship. The force of the blast shook the massive ship, sending shock waves through the fleet. "Direct hit!" Lieutenant Daniels exclaimed, his face lighting up. "The alien command ship has been damaged!" Captain Mitchell felt a surge of hope. They had done it. They had landed the first blow. But the battle was far from over. "Prepare for counterattack!" she ordered. "We're exposed now. They know we're here." Commander Raxor staggered as the ship shook violently from the blast. Sparks flew from the consoles and alarms echoed throughout the bridge. He growled in fury. The humans had dared to attack his ship. His ship! "Fire back!" he roared. "Destroy that warship! I want it in pieces!" The alien fleet quickly responded, their massive warships turning to face the last hope. Bright bolts of energy fired from the alien cannons, streaking across the stars toward the human ship. "Evasive maneuvers," Mitchell shouted. "Get us out of their line of fire!" The last hope banked hard, narrowly dodging the first wave of enemy fire. The ship's advanced shields activated, deflecting some of the blasts, but the sheer number of alien weapons made it impossible to avoid them all. The ship shook as several bolts struck the hull. The crew held on tight as sparks flew and systems flickered. "Shields are holding," Blake reported, "but we can't take too many more hits like that." Mitchell clenched her fists. "Return fire! Target the smaller ships and break through their lines!" The last hope spun through space, weaving between the alien ships and firing its energy cannons. Explosions lit up the darkness as several smaller alien vessels were destroyed. But for every ship they took down, more seemed to take its place. The fleet was too large, too powerful. "Captain, we're being surrounded," Lieutenant Daniels called out. "They're closing in on us." Mitchell's heart raced. They were outnumbered, and the aliens weren't holding back. But she refused to give up. "Keep fighting!" "We're not done yet." On the alien flagship, Raxor watched as the last hope continued to evade his fleet's attacks. He couldn't believe it. A single human warship was holding its own against his entire armada. He had never seen anything like it. "They're persistent," he muttered, his voice dripping with disdain. "But persistence won't save them." He turned to his second-in-command. "Prepare the plasma cannons. I want that ship destroyed, no matter the cost." "Yes, Commander." The plasma cannons on the alien flagship powered up, glowing with a sinister light. These were the most destructive weapons in the Vrokar arsenal, capable of vaporizing anything in their path. On the last hope, alarms blared once again. "Captain," Blake said urgently, "they're charging their plasma cannons. If they hit us with those—" Mitchell didn't need him to finish the sentence. She knew what would happen. "We have to disable their weapons, now." The ship's targeting system locked onto the plasma cannons, and Mitchell gave the order. "Fire everything we've got!" The last hope unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, each one aimed at the alien flagship's plasma cannons. The shots were precise, hitting their mark and causing massive explosions on the alien ship's surface. Raxor staggered again as the ship shook violently. "Impossible!" he snarled. "How are they doing this?" But the damage was done. The plasma cannons were destroyed, and the Vrokar flagship was crippled. The other ships in the fleet hesitated, unsure of what to do without their leader's command. On the last hope, the crew watched in awe as the alien fleet began to falter. "We did it," Daniels whispered. "We actually did it." Mitchell allowed herself a small smile. "We're not out of the woods yet, but we've bought ourselves some time. Let's get out of here while we still can." The ship turned and sped away, leaving the crippled alien fleet behind. The battle wasn't over, but humanity had just made its mark, and the aliens would never forget it. The calm before the storm lasted only a moment. As the last hope withdrew from its attack on the alien flagship, the Vrokar fleet regrouped. Their enormous ships, bristling with weapons, filled the empty blackness of space, each one eager to retaliate. Captain Sarah Mitchell knew that what had happened so far was only a prelude to the real fight. "Status report," Mitchell barked, her voice steady but tense. Lieutenant Daniels scanned his controls quickly. "Shields are holding, but we've taken minor damage to the aft section. Engines are still at full capacity." Mitchell nodded. "Good. Prepare for incoming fire." "They're not going to let us get away easily." She was right. On the alien flagship, Commander Raxor was furious. The human ship had done significant damage to his vessel and destroyed his prized plasma cannons. He was not about to let such an insult go unanswered. "Weapons ready," Raxor snarled, his sharp teeth glinting under the dim light of the command bridge. "All ships, focus fire on the human warship. I want them obliterated." As the command went out, the Vrokar ships opened fire. Beams of destructive energy and glowing missiles streaked across the stars, aimed directly at the last hope. The human warship responded immediately, its engines roaring as it dodged and weaved through the deadly barrage. On the bridge of the last hope, Captain Mitchell gripped the armrests of her command chair tightly. "Evasive maneuvers," she ordered. "Keep us moving!" The ship's skilled navigator, Daniels, expertly guided the vessel through the storm of alien fire. Explosions burst all around them, but the last hope remained elusive, darting through the chaos like a predator in the dark. Captain Blake, the weapons officer, shouted, "We can't dodge forever! They're closing in!" Mitchell knew he was right. The Vrokar fleet was massive, and it was only a matter of time before one of their shots connected. "Return fire!" she commanded. "Target their smaller ships first. Break their formation." The last hope unleashed a series of bright energy blasts, each one aimed at the nearest Vrokar ship. Several smaller alien vessels were hit, erupting in fiery explosions that lit up the cold vacuum of space. The human crew watched as pieces of alien debris floated away, a sign that they were holding their own, at least for now. But the victory was short-lived. One of the larger Vrokar warships had moved into position, its enormous guns aimed directly at the last hope. Before anyone could react, a massive energy beam fired, slamming into the human warship's shields. The ship shuddered violently as the impact sent the crew tumbling in their seats. Sparks flew from damaged consoles, and warning alarms echoed throughout the bridge. "Shields down to 40%. Daniels shouted, his hands moving frantically over the controls. "Another hit like that, and we won't survive." Mitchell's mind raced. They couldn't afford to take another hit, and the alien ships were closing in fast. But retreat wasn't an option. "Not yet. Sergeant Blake," she said, turning to her weapons officer, "we need to take out that big one. Focus all fire on that ship. We need to punch through their line." Blake nodded, his fingers flying across the weapons console. "Targeting now, Captain. We're ready." On the Vrokar flagship, Commander Raxor watched with a mix of amusement and anger. The human ship had managed to survive longer than expected, but he was confident that it would be destroyed soon. His fleet outnumbered them 1,000 to 1, and no amount of human cunning could change that. "They're putting up a good fight," Raxor muttered, his lips curling into a snarl. "But it won't last." He turned to his second-in-command. "Order the fleet to box them in. We'll crush them with sheer force." The alien ships began to close in from all sides, forming a deadly trap around the last hope. Their weapons charged, ready to deliver the final blow. Back on the last hope, Mitchell could see the trap forming. The Vrokar ships were tightening their circle, leaving the human warship with less and less room to maneuver. They needed to act fast. "Blake, now's our chance," Mitchell shouted. "Fire everything we've got." The last hope fired its main cannons, sending a concentrated barrage of energy directly at the approaching alien warship. The shots hit their mark, piercing the ship's shields and causing massive explosions along its hull. The Vrokar warship shook violently, fires erupting from its damaged sections. Moments later, it exploded in a brilliant flash of light, sending debris scattering in all directions. The destruction of the large warship gave the last hope a brief reprieve, but the battle was far from over. The remaining alien ships quickly adjusted their formation, continuing their relentless assault. Mitchell's heart pounded in her chest. They had taken out one of the bigger ships, but the odds were still overwhelmingly against them. She knew they couldn't keep fighting like this forever. Sooner or later, their luck would run out. "Captain," Daniels said, his voice strained, "we've got multiple incoming. I don't think we can dodge them all." Mitchell looked at the screen. He was right. There were too many ships, too many weapons firing at once. It was only a matter of time before one of those shots landed a direct hit. Her mind raced, searching for a way out. Then a thought struck her. "Daniels," she said, her voice firm, "bring us in closer to the debris field from that destroyed ship." Daniels looked at her in surprise. "Captain, if we get too close, we could get caught in the explosion remnants." Mitchell nodded. "I know, but that debris could also give us some cover. If we can hide in it, we might be able to confuse their sensors long enough to come up with a plan." Daniels hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Understood, Captain. Bringing us in now." The last hope moved toward the wreckage of the destroyed alien warship, slipping into the cloud of debris and broken metal. For a moment, the ship disappeared from the sensors of the Vrokar fleet. On the alien flagship, Raxer growled in frustration. "Where did they go?" His second-in-command frantically checked the scanners. "They've entered the debris field, Commander. Our sensors are having trouble picking them up." Raxer slammed his fist down on the console. "Clever humans, but hiding won't save them. Sweep the area, find them and destroy them." Inside the debris field, the last hope floated silently. The crew held their breath, watching the alien ships on their screens, knowing that at any moment they could be discovered. Mitchell took a deep breath, her mind focused on the task at hand. They had bought themselves a little time, but they needed a plan, a way to turn the tide of the battle. "Lieutenant Daniels," she said, her voice calm, "begin scanning the alien fleet. I want to know if there's any weak point we can exploit. We're not out of this fight yet." As Daniels began his scans, the crew waited in tense silence, knowing that the next few moments would determine their fate. The battle had only just begun, but already the last hope had proven that humans were far more resilient and far more dangerous than the Vrokar had ever imagined. And as the warship floated in the shadow of its fallen enemies, Captain Sarah Mitchell knew that this was just the beginning of humanity's fight for survival. The last hope floated silently in the debris field, hidden from the sensors of the alien fleet. Captain Sarah Mitchell stared at the view screen, her mind racing with possibilities. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and their ship had already taken damage. But they still had one thing left, the element of surprise. "Lieutenant Daniels," Mitchell said, breaking the tense silence, "do we have anything from the scans?" Daniels, focused on his console, looked up after a moment. "Yes, Captain. I've identified a weak point in their formation. Their main battleships are clustered together near the center, but their flanking ships are spread thin. If we can punch through one of the flanks, we might be able to get close enough to their command ship." Mitchell nodded, her mind working through the plan. "Good. We'll use the debris as cover to get into position. Once we're close enough, we'll hit them with everything we've got." Blake, the weapons officer, turned to her, concern etched on his face. "Captain, our weapon systems are still damaged. We might not have enough firepower to take them all down." Mitchell's lips tightened. "We'll make do with what we have. Focus on precision, not power. We need to take out their critical systems, engines, weapons, shields. If we can disable them, it'll give us the advantage we need." The crew exchanged glances, their faces determined. They knew the odds were against them, but they also knew that giving up wasn't an option. On the Vrokar flagship, Commander Raxer was growing increasingly impatient. The human ship had vanished from their sensors, but he knew it was still out there, hiding in the debris. "They're trying to outsmart us," Raxer muttered, his sharp claws tapping rhythmically on the armrest of his command chair. "But they won't escape for long." His second-in-command approached, bowing slightly. "Commander, should we deploy more ships to sweep the area?" Raxer's eyes narrowed. "No. They want us to spread our forces thin. That's their strategy. We'll keep our fleet concentrated and wait for them to make a move. They can't hide forever." As the alien fleet continued its search, the last hope carefully maneuvered through the debris, staying hidden from enemy sensors. Every second felt like an eternity, but the crew knew they had to be patient. Finally, Daniels spoke up. "We're in position, Captain. We're on the edge of their right flank." Mitchell leaned forward in her chair, her eyes fixed on the view screen. The alien ships were still searching, unaware that the human warship was right on their doorstep. "Blake, target their closest cruiser," Mitchell ordered. "Aim for their engines. We need to disable them quickly and quietly." Blake's fingers flew over the weapons console as he locked onto the alien ship. "Ready to fire on your command, Captain." Mitchell took a deep breath. This was it. Fire. The Last Hope unleashed a volley of precise energy blasts, each one striking the alien cruiser's engines. The ship shuddered, its lights flickering as the engines failed. Within moments, it was dead in the water, unable to move. The alien fleet didn't realize what had happened until it was too late. By the time they detected the attack, the Last Hope had already moved on, targeting the next ship in line. "Another cruiser down," Blake reported. "We're making progress, but they're starting to catch on." Mitchell knew they couldn't keep this up forever. The element of surprise was fading fast, and soon the aliens would turn their full attention on them. "Keep moving," she ordered. "We need to create as much confusion as possible." On the alien flagship, alarms blared as reports flooded in from the fleet. "Commander, 2 of our cruisers have been disabled. The human ship is attacking from the debris field," Raxor snarled in frustration. "How did they get so close without us detecting them?" "They're using the debris as cover," his second-in-command explained. "Our sensors are having trouble tracking them." Raxor's eyes burned with anger. "Enough of this!" All ships converge on their position. "Destroy them at once!" Back on the Last Hope, the tension was mounting. The alien fleet had finally realized what was happening, and now they were closing in from all sides. "Captain, they're on to us," Daniels warned. "They're moving in fast." Mitchell gritted her teeth. "We're not done yet. Blake, prepare the main cannons. We're going to punch through their line." Blake hesitated. "Captain, the main cannons are still damaged. They won't have full power." "Doesn't matter," Mitchell replied. "We'll make it work." As the alien ships closed in, the Last Hope charged its cannons, preparing for one last desperate strike. The crew held their breath as the energy built up, ready to unleash its destructive force. "Fire!" Mitchell commanded. The Last Hope fired its main cannons, sending a massive beam of energy toward the alien line. The beam sliced through the nearest ship, tearing it apart in a fiery explosion. The blast sent shockwaves through the surrounding ships, causing chaos and confusion. "Direct hit!" Blake shouted. "We've taken down their lead ship." Mitchell didn't waste a second. "Daniels, take us through that gap." "Full speed!" The Last Hope surged forward, slipping through the hole in the alien formation. The alien ships scrambled to react, but they were too slow. The human warship was already on the move, cutting through the heart of the enemy fleet. On the alien flagship, Raxor was in disbelief. How is this possible? How is one ship doing so much damage? His second-in-command was just as stunned. "Commander, the human ship is heading straight for us." Raxor's eyes widened in realization. "They're coming for the command ship. Prepare all weapons. We'll destroy them ourselves." As the Last Hope closed in on the alien flagship, the tension on the bridge was palpable. The crew knew that this was their last chance. If they could take out the command ship, it would cripple the alien fleet's leadership and give humanity a fighting chance. "Blake, target their weapon systems," Mitchell ordered. "We need to disable them before they can fire." Blake nodded, his hands steady as he locked onto the alien flagship. "Targeting now, Captain." The Last Hope fired another volley of energy blasts, each one aimed at the alien ship's weapons. The shots hit their mark, causing explosions to erupt along the ship's hull. "They're losing power," Daniels reported. "Their weapons are offline." Mitchell allowed herself a brief smile. "Good. Now let's finish this." On the alien flagship, Raxor's fury reached its peak. "How could we be defeated by a single ship?" he roared, slamming his fist into the console. His second-in-command looked at him with fear. "Commander, we must retreat. The human ship is too powerful." Raxor's eyes blazed with anger, but he knew the truth. They had underestimated the humans, and now they were paying the price. "Order the retreat," Raxor growled, his voice filled with bitterness. "We'll fight another day." As the alien fleet began to retreat, the crew of the Last Hope let out a collective sigh of relief. They had done it. They had fought back against impossible odds and survived. Mitchell leaned back in her chair, exhausted but victorious. "Good work, everyone. We've won this battle, but the war isn't over yet." The crew nodded, knowing that while they had won today, the fight for humanity's survival was far from finished. As the last hope sailed through the wreckage of the defeated alien fleet, Mitchell allowed herself a moment of quiet satisfaction. They had proven that humans were not to be underestimated. They were fighters, resilient, determined, and, as the alien commander had discovered, too stubborn to die. The final battle had begun. The skies over the alien planet were filled with ships from all corners of the galaxy. The Galactic Alliance, a massive coalition of different alien species, had AK, but they were about to learn a hard lesson. On the human flagship, the USS Valor, Captain Sarah Mitchell,